the quoting, invoicing, like the accounting side with like your Xero and all that sort of stuff. So all of that to me was like a second language. I'm like, for the first couple of months, it was a bit of trial and error, you know.
A lot of bigger businesses or people that have been in business for a long time forget about what it's like to be in your first year of business. Hey, welcome to the Tradies Success Podcast. On this podcast, you're going to hear real life stories from trade business owners to minimize the mistakes you're going to make, maximize profit, create more time freedom, and minimize emotional overwhelm. So hit subscribe and follow us now and enjoy the episode. Hey everyone, welcome to the Tradies Success Podcast. Here today with Marshall Waide from Waide Plumbing. Pleasure to have you on the show, man.
Thanks, man. Keen as.
His ambition to put extra tradespeople on, even though he's just put his first tradie on only 5 weeks ago, looking to put 2 more on. He's just put deposits down for 2 new vehicles with the intention to fill them with new tradies. And we know how hard it is to build the confidence up to make that first hire. All right, man. So love to dive in before we get into all of that. How long have you been in business for, man? Love to hear about that.
I'll be coming up to a year now. Probably like everyone else, man. Like just working for people and not quite seeing eye to eye. And you always think that, you know, you can do it better. And, you know, why aren't you out there making the money? And then, yeah, you pull the pin and realize that it's not sort of what you think it is. But I think the biggest motivation for me was probably knowing that I could do more and knowing that I had more to give, and just under that umbrella of you're capped, right? Like I'm like, it doesn't matter how hard you work or how high you go, it's still not entirely yours, even though you feel like you contribute so much or you've also got like a lot to give, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because it's someone else's. And that was probably my biggest thing. Like it was honestly for years, I'd come home from work and I'd say to my missus, I'm like, I'm doing it. And she's like, we'll do it then. I'm like, nah, one more bad day. And then I was like, nah, I'm doing it. One more bad day. And then I think I just made a bad day happen. I'm like, yep, done. And yeah, pretty much quit on the spot. Well, I did quit on the spot, and then, you know, came back and started to get the ball rolling, started subbing for that, probably lasted like 4 weeks. And I was like, nah, if I'm doing it, I'm doing it. And I just jumped head first. And yeah, I think the biggest motivation was just knowing no matter what I did and no matter where I went and how hard I worked, I was still never going to have something that was completely mine, even though I felt like, you know, I was ready for it. And I'm not one to be like comfortable with like just getting your paycheck each week and rocking up, doing what you got to do, going home. Like I just had like this burning drive, you know what I mean? To just to do more, and just thought I'd do it, and I haven't looked back since, and I definitely won't. It's the best thing I've ever done.
Man, it's so exciting. And you said so much there that I think a lot of people feel. So I'd love to go back and speak to that feeling of, I could do it so much better. I'm just going to start. And when you do start, you go, what the fuck? Like there's so much more to it that I didn't even know existed. So, yeah, so what do you think some of those things are that you came to you personally?
Okay, well, like they all say, like doing the work, I'm like, well, if I'm a good plumber, I should have a good business, right? Like that's how I looked at it. So I'm like, doing the work's the easy part. And then after about a month, I'm like, where's the money? Where's the jobs? Where's my time gone? You know, where do I go? I'm like wrapping myself up fully into this business, and I don't know what I'm doing for starters. I don't know how to do the invoicing and quoting and all that. And yeah, it was pretty much everything. And I just thought, from being a good tradie, then I could just start a business up and I'll have a good business, when it's completely the opposite, you know? And I'm like, well, you know, you're working for a lunatic and you leave because they're crazy and they don't know what they're doing. You do, you know it best, rah rah rah, and then you go do it for yourself. And like, I'm now the lunatic. Like, that's now me, and I'm like, dude, like why I left is like, that's me. And I would be saying like, I'm going fucking crazy. I'm like, now I sort of get it, but it's pretty much everything as a whole. Like the work part, even to this day, like doing the work is easy. I'm like, yeah, go do that work, but it's everything that funnels down or up from getting to actually do that work. It involves so many different things that I never even thought about. It's like marketing, like what's that website, all this, and quoting, and I'm like, holy shit. And then you just to go and get that job, you've put so many hours and money spent, and that was the biggest thing. It really caught me out of nowhere. I'm like, well, wait, what? So a lot of it is so much involved just to be able to go and do that job. And I'm like, that's why I say even to this day, like doing the work for me is the easy part. I'm like, whatever. I've been doing it forever, right? It's just getting the work and
100%. And I think, I'm victim of that as well. Like I was the same, and I think nearly everyone's probably the same. They left because they could see it could be done better. But what you don't realize is how much the business owner has to do. And it's not because they're not competent. It's just they have no time to do everything all the time. And so this becomes the trap that most people get trapped in at all different size businesses. Like it's still something we work through with our whole team now at Response. Like it's something you'll never have to stop doing, which is analyzing everyone's capacity and making sure everything gets done. And as soon as you can't do everything, everyone goes crazy. The whole team goes crazy. Everyone starts getting upset. Oh, I'm doing too much work. You're not doing too much. You're not doing enough work. The boss isn't doing enough. That person's not doing enough. And it becomes this big blame game, but it all comes back to capacity at the end of the day where everyone's hit their limit and then everyone starts getting affected. So it's interesting when you actually start to break down, eh?
Yeah, it all falls back on you at the end of the day. So you do have like that responsibility no matter what. Like, you need to make sure that work is there no matter what. You need to make sure that everything is working the way it's meant to with your systems. And no matter what, like I feel at the moment anyway, you're still sort of, there's still so much responsibility, even though you get people and you hiring and, they free up some time. It's still, for me, it's just as much workload. It just doesn't mean I'm out there on the tools. You got like, dude, I need work for next week. I need work for the week after. Like it's, there's heaps to it, but I love it, man. I love it. Like it's so cool.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, I'd love to just go back and overview, since it's so fresh, like it's just a year's worth of business. A lot of bigger businesses or people that have been in business for a long time forget about what it's like to be in your first year of business. So I think this would be a great opportunity for us to just go through your year and actually go through and be like, what didn't you know? Like, you started out, you're like, oh, I'm going to start subbing. Firstly, subbing is just like being employed, except you've got more responsibility. And then, even being a sole trader is you're working, you have to do every hour to get paid for every hour. It's an active income. There's no passive income at all when you're a sole trader or you're a subcontractor. You have to work. You have to exchange time for money. That's the only way you can do it. You might as well be employed. If you're running a business, I think it's probably better off if you're not looking to grow into having staff and building some passive income, you are better off working for someone. And we do need more employees. So if you're not looking to grow and you're a sole trader or a subcontractor, just go back and become employed because we need more people to hire for the
100%. 100%. Like, yeah. And if anyone's on the coast looking for a job, you can hit me up. Because they're hard to get. But I totally agree. Either doing it or you're not.
100%. All right, man. So let's go back through the year. Like, what didn't you know? Like you got into it. You're a good plumber, but what are the things you had to learn? What are the things you're like, I didn't know I needed to do that? And how did you go about it? If you can walk us through the year.
Okay, probably straight away, the first thing was the quoting. invoicing, like the accounting side, like your Xero and all that sort of stuff. So all of that to me was like a second language. I'm like, but I'm just the plumber, right? Like, I'm just here to do your plumbing. That's just what I'm meant to do. And then next thing you realize, you've got anything that you can possibly think of. You don't know. You just know how to do your trade, but then you need to be on top of all these other things. I think starting out with the quoting and then the invoicing and figuring out how to do like the systems, and even when you go back and look at your quotes and invoices when you first started, they're horrific. It's like plumbing done at your house, like, you know. And I think like learning about you know, how to deliver your quotes properly, and you know, even your invoices, that was probably the biggest thing for me. And not falling into the trap of just doing what someone else does or doing what your old boss used to do. You know, that was hard to sort of wrap my head around. Definitely the quoting side as well, like too little information, too much information, itemized, not itemized. And I feel like for the first couple of months, it was a bit of trial and error. You know, you don't know what you're doing. You don't. And it's as simple as that. Like, even unless you had like, you know, experience with it before, but I had no idea about anything. And then, yeah, going from the quoting and invoicing, and then I learned all about marketing. And that was just something that even still to this day, it stumps me, because you need to do like, you know, like your Google ads and then your websites, and then you got to have your keywords and backlinks, SEO. I'm like, dude, even to this day, I'm like, I don't know, I trust you. I don't even know what that means, dude. I'm like, dude, it's crazy. So then obviously going from when I first started to where I am now, I've learned so much, but the initial steps of growing or, you know, getting more work, it means that you really got to fine tune, you know, how long before that, I used to spend so long on quoting. I would spend so long, and I'd go through like every little thing, and, you know, it'd take me, you know, half an hour to an hour plus just to do one quote. And I realized, like, I'm spending so much time. I go spend half an hour at their house or whatever, and I'm spending like an hour doing this quote. It's ridiculous. And I've, you know, figured out how to, you know, fine tune that to make it all just a lot more smoother, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of time wasted, you know, again, not knowing what you're doing. It's crazy.
Another consideration with that as well, if you're spending an hour to go to someone's house and then 30 minutes to do a quote, that's an hour and a half. If you're not including that in your actual, you know, quote to claim that money back, you're losing that time, and that time equals lost money. And a lot of people's businesses, when they come into the academy, they do a cost of ops, they realize every hour is costing them somewhere in between $95 and $120 to $130 an hour every single hour, you know? Yeah. So you're going out for an hour and a half, and let's just take $100 flat as your cost of operation, which means all of the costs are covered in the business to run the business 8 hours a day, you know, 5 days a week, all month. You end up, you know, spending $150 to go out and do the quote. But if you don't win it, say if you only win 50% of your quotes, that doubles. So there's $300 an hour you're losing because you're going out to quotes and you're not converting them. So that's why you have to get quotes so right. So what are some of the things you learnt about quoting? You know, what's that sweet spot? Like, what do you think some of the things, let's just give us 3 like rapid fire things that really made a difference for you in quotes.
Okay, so what I stopped doing, and this might be, you know, controversial or whatever, but at the start, I was going around and quoting every single thing, you know what I mean? But now, obviously with the experience, like, I've allowed for things to go wrong, for things to, you know, go right. You get your wins and your losses, but like, having that fixed price there that has incorporated, you know, if something was to go wrong or something did need to be moved, it's covered. So that way, if, you know, even over the phone, like, you know, how much to supply and install a 315 hottie, I'm just like, bang, that's it, because of going like, oh, I've done my ass on this one, or I didn't allow for that. So I think having your price there, but having having enough in it so that you can be covered. So that way you don't have to worry about driving half an hour away to go look at a job. You already know what you're going to charge, but I'm like, I need to stop going out and looking at these, depending, like not all the time, but sometimes you have to if you're moving some things, but having something there that it's foolproof, right? So like that's the price, and if something does pop up, you're covered. I think that's probably something I learned because I was like, I'd be going out and quoting jobs. I'm like, and these are like $300-$400 jobs, and then you go out there. I'm like, nah. So I've sorted out, just something that has me covered. That way, I can sort of give somewhat of a price over the phone, depending on the job, and that way I'll stand by that. Being really detailed in your quotes too, I feel helps a lot as well. Not necessarily like, 2 whole pages, but, just give them a little bit more information. Like if you're doing like, say, installing a hot water system, don't just put like hot water system install, whatever. Chuck the steps and isolate water, like drain tank. Yeah, just have it all a bit like dot pointed at least, and it just shows that you know a bit more than just, and you're giving them a bit more as well. I find that helps. Like instead of just having one line with your price, I just add a bit more information in there. I think is definitely something that does help.
Anything that you can remove if someone has a question, what I've learned is if people have a question, they feel more confident just going and getting a second quote from someone else than calling up and questioning your price. So the more detail you can give, the less questions they have, the better it is for you. So yeah, that's totally, awesome that you have aligned that. Where can people find more about that? Did you learn, is that shopping list pricing system in the academy? So you've dialed that into your business? Yeah.
So I've fine-tuned it maybe a few weeks ago. And I think a lot of it comes down to the experience as well. Do you know what I mean? Like just being able to have that repetition of them jobs, you'll always come across something that you haven't before. So you'll go, oh, that's $200. And you go there, you're like, fuck, didn't allow for this. And that's just what I said. And that sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. But now I've tried to put it more in my favor, not necessarily winning, but just being covered for anything that can pop up. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's something that you get from doing that job, if a numerous amount of times. Because it was only the other few weeks ago that I changed a few things. You know what I mean? Because you go and do them a few times, and you're like, oh, okay, this is like that.
And micro adapt it. Yeah, totally, 100%.
Well, you don't want to go and do work I don't want to go do work and give them $100. That's how sometimes it was. I'm like, well, I've done my ass. I might as well just give you $100. Thanks for letting me do your plumbing. Here's $100.
Yeah. That's how it is. Like,
so I feel like that does help. But having enough in there to just to be covered, and allowing for things like your deliveries on your materials, like allowing that $25 delivery. It's all them small things too, that you just sort of got to go over and make sure that you are covering absolutely everything.
Yeah. It's a better experience for the customer too.
Oh, 100%.
And the less you have to tell them that it's going to cost more when you're there, the better. So if you can cover yourself and cover like even at your average tradie going out and getting it done and it's done well, and if it goes over, it gives us something to look at and go like, maybe this tradie isn't competent. Maybe we need to help train and develop them, or maybe they're way off the mark and they, not a good hire. While they're still in probation, it gives you that signaling back to make a decision to be like, actually, this isn't working out. You're not hitting the times ever. But it leads to another thing we see a lot of in the membership and people when they do move into shopping list pricing or fixed pricing is they create timing for them to get it done. And like you said, you're a weapon plumber, right? And then you hire someone who's not quite as good. It takes them longer. And if you don't have your pricing dialed in for someone that's average to do it, it makes everyone bad because you're so good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, and it's the truth. Like they're not going to work as hard as you would. Hopefully they perform as well as they can. But no, that's perfect. Like, you're like, that'll take me an hour to do that because it's my time and my money. So like, you don't allow an hour, you allow an hour and a half, 2 hours, because you don't, you know what I mean? And that's something that was happening to me too. I was like, I'm quoting as if I was doing it, but I realized I'm like, I'm not doing it. So you got to, like I said, just allow for anything and everything, because shit pops up all the time, and knowing that you've at least covered most bases, most of the time you're going to be sweet.
Conversely, for the listeners, if you're pricing yourself at market rate, but you're super fast, then you're discounting yourself. Because say if you were to price like this, you price at market rate, but you've allowed for the time for someone average to do it, you can make a lot more because you're good at what you do. So that's something to consider as well. So yeah, some really good tips in there. So what about invoicing? What's some of the things you learned around invoicing that made a big difference in your business, and why?
Straight away, paid on the spot. I used to go home and, get caught up in a bunch of things, and next thing I know, I haven't sent the invoice out for a week, and then I'm not, you know what I mean? It's been on top of the invoicing. So now I'm payment upon completion, or if I'm doing a job that lasts, because I think at the start I was doing like some sort of like semi big jobs, like just like restaurant fit outs and just a few like cafes and everything like that, and they've got the tendency to drag on, and I'm like, dude, where's my coin? Like, I need the money. And it could take 30, 60, 90 days or whatever, and you're like, dude, it's only a couple of grand, but it lasts. And now I've gotten into, as soon as I'm done, it's payment upon completion. I've got the tap on the phone, bang, that's done. We're done. You've got a problem, now you don't, you've paid, we're gone. And then even for the bigger jobs, it's a payment made daily. So say it's a $5,000 job and I'm at your house 2 times, then we know each day I'm there, you
pay for the day's worth of work.
You pay for my days, instead of people will, even like you go do a renovation for somebody. Some of these, it might take these people 4 or 5 months to get through their reno, shit pops up. Whereas at least I know now when I'm there, every day I'm there, I'm paid, which helps with the cash flow. So that comes down to the invoicing. It's just being on top of it, I feel. And you've done the work. You want to get paid for that. Get paid for what you've done. Don't wait until you get paid, because it's fucking annoying, right? Like, I've had times where I'm like, it's been 3 months, where you at? Now I'm like, no. And it's all there when I'm there. I think my thing's like, you've got a problem, I rock up, you don't have a problem, now you pay, I'm out of there, see you later. It's all done and dusted in one hit, not going home and sorting it out. It's just annoying. So just doing it all in one go.
Oh man, the amount of times that I realized, like, the longer you waited to send the invoice, the longer people paid took to pay it. It's like that. Oh, they're not urgent to send the invoice, I'm not urgent to pay it.
Yeah,
so the quicker you are to ask for it, the quicker they are to pay it. So the best thing is, like you said, on site, you ask for it on site, they pay it on site. And then you got things like, builders, contractors, people that go, no, this is how we'll pay you. This is how you're going to be paid. In those situations, I think, progress claims, you've got to negotiate that with whoever your client is and make sure that they're on board with it before. Don't feel like, oh no, they're a big builder, they're going to, I have to do this before them. Trust me, they fuck so many people over because they can, and they put so many people out of business because they can. And when you're out of business, you don't pay your bill, they don't need to pay you, so it's part of that is they string it out. Don't work for people like that. It's not worth it. Like, work with people that want to work with you and support you as a business, which means regular payments so you can pay staff at least weekly, weekly payment plans and payment progress claims so that you can pay staff every single week.
Yeah, well, you need it. It's your money, it's your time, and even like your materials you've outlaid, like that shit comes back around every month, you know what I mean? And then you got to pay for that and you haven't been paid. Like, it can be pretty gnarly, but it's just being on top of it. You just want to make sure you've done the work. You either get paid full or, like you said, progress claim or something. You need that. You need it.
Yeah. And you're not a credit agency. That's the other thing I got told way back. It's like, you're not a creditor. You're not a bank. It's not your job to provide credit to people just because they are used to that. And nowadays, you know, when you go through the groceries, you put the thing through the till and you pay the people. Like, we've got to have that mentality as tradies, because that's how society works, right? There's no reason why we can't do it, like you said.
No, don't be scared. No, don't be scared. You need it. I used to be a bit timid, but now I'm like, nah, dude, like, but it's cool. Like, you iron all that stuff out, you know what I mean? And you end up, people know how you operate, but you just gotta, don't be scared about it. Like, you need that shit. It's simple. So, yeah.
It is. All right. But yeah, I think so many people are scared. I was scared. I was scared to ask for money. I hated the calls, like the overdue bill calls. I hated them. I always put it off. I was like, nah, I could do something else. Hopefully they pay.
Just email it anyway. Just email, hide behind that. But no, you got to you get a bit more comfortable with it now anyway. And then even like face to face, like outlining, you know, how the payment's going to go before the job starts. You know, like, just so you're aware, like, we're going to get paid each day. Get them to sign the quote, and that you accept that, and just it just gets rid of everything with just like that simple conversation beforehand, or even if it's over the phone, outlining what's
nice and clear
going on.
Yeah, nice and clear, man. Cool. Awesome. All right, so let's jump to, I want to come back to the marketing one. I want to jump into now leading up to putting on your first tradie. Now, what was all the feelings you felt, and how did you overcome and build the confidence to put that first tradie on? What was going through your mind?
Oh, dude, heaps. So I've always thought, like, you always know what you're meant to do or what you shouldn't be doing. Like, you're consciously aware of what you should and shouldn't be doing. And I knew, like, the only way out of this, unless I want to just create a job for myself and just, which fuck that, like, I don't want it. It's too much hassle just to create another job, which is what it was. But very scary, like, because it's just a whole another responsibility, and you're so used to doing things how you do them, and you know, you're attached to everything. Like, it's you quote the job, you get the job, you do the work, you follow up, like, it's all you. And I feel like with the work that was coming in, I was leaving a lot of money on the table by not being able to go and do it. And I was like, well, it was pretty nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was like, fuck, like, whatever. But I feel like it's one of the best things that you can do, but I understand the feeling of putting that first person on, because, like, it was fucking scary. And then after a couple of days or a week, I'm like, how good's this? Do you know what I mean? But it's like you feelings, they're so high. And for me, they were negative. I'm like, you know, what if I don't have enough work? What if they leave? What if they do this? What if they do that? Me, like, who's going to want to work for me? Who's going to want to, you know, as if you would. And I feel like it's a lot of, you sabotage yourself, when really, like, there's plenty of people that want that, and you just sort of, you hold yourself back by thinking all of these things. And they're reasonable. Like, I understand that because I went through it, but you understand there's people out there that would love to go work for a small business and be the first tradie and have a bit more freedom in their life. Like, that's the thing that I think people have to understand, is there's plenty of people out there that, you know, are suitable for you. You've just got to go out there and do it.
Oh, and I think it's like friends, right? Like, people are going to connect with you because of you. Like, people have got to realize that you don't have to hire someone you don't like. You know, it's like, find someone you actually gel with. Find someone you definitely want someone that's competent. Like, don't race into hiring unless they're competent. But you don't have to hire people you don't like. And I think that's what people feel, is like, I'm going to hire this person, I'm not going to get along with them, and, you know, they're not going to do the job properly. And you think all these, like you said, the negatives, but there's so many positives that you don't even understand what the positives are until they're happening to you, which is after you've hired them. So I feel, you know, that's really awesome that you've gone and taken that leap. What were the things that helped you overcome the fears and the negative talk and all the things that were coming into that hiring process?
Probably, to say the honest truth, I used to write notes on my phone, and I'd be like, "You're gonna hire someone by the end of the week," and then I'd like get to the end of the week, and I'd like, "Oh nah, there's not enough work there," and I kept like putting that off, and I kept like I G myself up, and then I'm like, I'm gonna do it, and I'm like, nah. So I think the biggest thing for me was just do it. Because if you, like what they say, like to get to where you've never been, you've got to do things that you've never done. So I'm like, how the hell am I meant to have 100 people working for me if I'm too scared to put one person on, like my first person? So I'm like, I feel like in order to get there, I need to do this stuff, right? And then you've just got to, like, it's a simple, you just, if it's what you want to do in a direction you want to go. But I kept thinking of like, I have a vision of like, taking over the whole of Gold Coast. So like, how am I meant to get there if I'm, wigging out about putting one person on? Because I feel like I get one, then I get five, and then I just think you just have to do it, and being positive about it too. And then like what you said, like as soon as you have someone on, like I had to refrain from going like, no, I'll do that. I'll pick the materials up. I'll do this. I'll do that. And I'm like, hang on. No, you can do that. We can do this. And, meet in the middle. And I feel like it just frees up so much more time. And the first week was a bit like, is everything all good? Like, is this going sweet? And now I'm like, this is what it is, I feel like you just gets a bit overwhelming, and then you find someone that's going to work with you. And then you've got time to work on the business and not in it. The benefits are unreal,
Yeah. Well, it sounds very familiar of the time when you were, telling your girlfriend, I'm going to start my business, just one more bad day. It's the same. It's the same as putting that first hire on, right? That first tradie there's not enough work. It's just, I just need a little bit more work. I just need a little bit more money in the bank. I just need to find, all these reasons we give ourselves. But once you do it, you won't look back. Like every single person in the academy, don't look back. You always are like, what the fuck? This is way good. And I guess that's for me. Like I didn't have any awareness. Like I was like you, but I'd hire that person, but I kept doing it and I didn't know that I was doing the wrong thing. I was no awareness. I was completely in the black. And, just through going through churning stuff and not really knowing why and what's happening, and randomly picking up a good one and being like, why are they so much better than everyone else? And not knowing, right? But I'm still on the tools, and there's just had no idea about any of the org chart. I didn't understand any of the roles. I didn't know the role I was playing. I didn't give them a defined role. So it was just like a big mess.
Just wild, eh? They're probably like, what's going on here? Like, what am I doing here? And you're like, it's all good. I got this. And you're like, I think it's just slow it down, eh? Just take it easy, It's going to be it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess, for me, it was, I had to learn by mistakes. I had no other way. There's no other way to learn. So unfortunately, I had awesome intentions, like really positive person, really positive intentions for who we wanted to become, how we serve our customers, the impact we make. I had really good intentions, but it didn't mean that I was good at what I was doing because I wasn't competent at it. And I didn't have any awareness either. So I couldn't try and be better because I didn't know what better looked like. So it was just through having a staff member, realizing they were terrible, trying to build some systems around it, and then they would leave, and then I'd hire someone new, and they came into systems. And they're like, this is so good. You've got systems. I'm like, yeah, I burnt a couple of people getting here, but...
Yeah. I have these now, finally, but it took a couple of people. But that's something you realize, like, people are going to buy into... it's the systems, right? Like you want to make sure that when you got people coming on board, like you're not teaching them how to do the plumbing and all that sort of stuff. You're teaching them how to work in the business and what your expectations are and how you like doing things. I don't give a fuck what your old boss used to do. I don't care what you like to do. Like this is what we do here, and it's the system, right? So this is how I do it, and I feel like it's a lot easier to. People come in and you got a system in place. You can't, like, this is just what we do, makes it easier. Yeah, this is just how it is. Yeah, it's simple, just straight up and down. Like, this is just how we do it. And
yeah. And the clearer you can be with that, I reckon you've got like 6 months of malleability, which is where a new staff member will adapt to anything. They'll just be like, this is the way we do it. I've already left my other business. I'm willing to adapt. If you can't get it right in that 6 months, it's like they lock in and this is the way I do it here at this business. And it's really hard to change those people, which is like, call them legacy staff. If you're still trying to improve systems, I think we have a lot of members who are, a lot bigger, that old staff that they've hired and they've made this huge adaptation. They've got all systems now. The business runs really efficiently, but the old staff, the legacy staff members who have been there and they're set in their ways, find it really hard and actually cause a bit of friction between the team members, right? So, yeah, it's interesting. People are interesting. It's like
that's understandable though. Like, if you hired someone and you were still writing out your quotes on a piece of paper and, doing all these weird things that you used to do, and the next thing you know, you've got all like this, computer systems and your software and phones and iPads and this guy's like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Even though it's 10 times better, but you know what I mean? They would have people just get stuck in their ways though. So you just build a system and just, this is how we do it, exactly how we do it. You need to do it like this. Please.
Man. So you gave me a message last week. You're like, hey, Greg, got two vehicles available. What should I do? I was like, what do you think? And you're like, you said it first. You're like, I think I should just get them both because that will motivate me to put someone else in the second one. Let's talk to that, because you've just put someone on 5 weeks ago. Now you're purchasing 2 new vehicles. What's going through your head now? Because obviously before your first hire, you're like, I don't want to put anyone on yet. I've got all these reasons why. So now you're like, give me more stuff.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah. It's probably a different feeling now. It's, at the moment, the reason behind it is I can't keep up with the work. Whereas before, putting someone on, I'm like, what if I don't have enough or whatever? Now I'm like, I need more hands. So I'm like, okay, I'll reach out and see. Obviously, vehicles are pretty hard to come by at the moment. I'm assuming I've only rang around a couple of people, but a few waits here and there. But I made sure I rang a few other dealerships and stuff like that as well. And they're like, oh, we've got 2 here. And I'm like, oh, I only need 1. And I thought about it, I'm like, ringing back, I'm like, nah, fuck it, I'm taking both. Because I'm like, I'm going to take, but I'm going to put someone else on, then I'm going to need to do this again. So I'm like, well, let's just get it over and done with, and give me the 2, and then I'll sort it out from there. So I'm really keen. I'm really keen for sure, but it seems like a lot, but it's pretty simple at the same time. Like, I've already done it once, and then you just roll on from there. But I think, like, why do one when I know I'm going to need another one anyway? And like you said, like, what's $1,000 or so a month if it's not, occupied? At least it's there ready to go. Because I think, like, people, then you go to hire and it's like, well, if you've got a good person there, but you've got to wait 6 months for a car. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, I'm like, no, give me both, and then I'll just fill them, and then I'll just keep it going, eh?
Bang on, man. So have you reflected on, like, it's been 5 weeks, but how I work with so many people that put their first tradie on and they double their revenue. Like, within the first month, 30 to 60 days, they double their revenue, and they're like, what the hell? How do I do that? And it all comes down to, like, your inefficiency as a business owner on the tools, for one. Now you've got someone who's just out on the, doing the jobs 40 hours a week instead of you. But it also unlocks all of this time for you to actually follow up every quote, answer every phone call, get back to every email, which then, in relation, by effect, as a byproduct, generates all this extra work just from the opportunity. What was always there, you just could never get to it before. So have you reflected on, over the last 5 weeks, is because of the amount of phone calls you can answer, quotes you can do, people you can follow up, those sort of things have led to this overwhelming amount of work that you've got now?
100%. It's, people will email or phone or send a message or whatever. It's not instant as in, like, on the spot, but it's very quick. That I can get all that stuff done during work hours. I can reply back to them and send a quote. I can go have a look at I'll go do the quote if you need to, have someone come out and inspect. And I feel like, and then everything's done in work hours, and then I get home, and then it's all good. And it's just like a snowball effect, And I feel like when it was just me before, having someone on, sometimes I'd be too afraid to send the quote at like, a couple of days gone by, or you just didn't get back to them. And I feel now everything's a lot more streamlined, because you've just got that time to work on your business and not in it. And there's a massive difference too, like working on it compared to working in it. Like working in it, you just a job, right? And now you can work on it, and then it just goes up and up and up, which is cool. It's cool. And now I can't keep up with it, man. Like I'm like wigging out because I'm like, I don't even know how I don't know how I'm literally in the next couple of weeks. I don't even know how I'm going to do it. I have no idea.
Well, that goes to show you what the next problem is for most people, is that they generate all this work because they put the work in to get it. And most people don't have awareness around this. They're just like doing it because they got time, and they got all this work all of a sudden, and then you're out in the tools again and you're back to the old way. I couldn't follow it up. I was late to send the quote. I didn't go to their house. I didn't answer their phone call. And you're just back in another cycle at a different level.
I tell you who has been good, Lauren. She's really good at what she does, man. The way I think about myself and think about situations, and just being aware of, having a good mindset and what it actually does to you, subconsciously, and attracting all that bad energy. And now it's to the point where I feel guilty and I get weird if I say things that, like, oh, of course this happened to me, or just my luck. Like I feel like I've even changed the way I speak to how I used to before I started. Like when I first started, I'm like, of course it's turned to shit. This is fuck, like blah, blah. But now I just keep it really clear and just be really careful about what you're putting out there, because I don't know, it's a real thing. Don't ask me how, it just works, but what you put out is what you get back. And she's really opened my eyes to just being a better human. You know what I mean? Like it's as simple as that. Like just stop thinking so negatively, and, the world doesn't owe you a favor, and it's not just you, and you're the only person that, you're the only person that's got to blame for these things. Like, no, that's just how I look at things now. She's given me some killer books to read and stuff too. It's not just like business shit.
We'll just focus on the things you can actually control rather than things you can't. Like at the end of the day, it's like, how could have I controlled that? If not, you can't. It's not your fault. Then there's no point getting upset about it. But if there was something you could have done, then that's a learning opportunity. If we see it as a learning opportunity, but if we see it as, this is fuck, why does this always happen to me? You don't learn, and you don't build systems around that with that mindset. So it's interesting.
Can you do something about it? No, then don't worry. Can you do something about it? Yes, then don't worry. I'm like, sweet, sad.
So it's so awesome. You're getting these extra vans. You're going to put these, you're being proactive about it. You're creating capacity. All the things I love to see people do in the academy, man. So all the members will be listening, and I'll be super proud of you. And I'm proud of you as well, and I can't wait to see what you do. I can't wait to catch up in a year, and you're growing this quick, and just to see what you've been up to over the next year.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I've got a vision, I've got a plan, so it'll happen. It's just taking them steps and not being scared, not holding yourself back either. You're the only person that holds yourself back. Like, stop doing that.
Yeah,
stop doing that.
You got this, man. You got this. Cool. Thanks for joining us, man. It's been awesome having you on the show. And like I said, we'll catch up in a year or so, and we'll share your story. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Go get them. See you later.
See you, man.
Hey, guys. It's Greg here. Thanks for listening to the podcast. For me, growing my trade business was extremely hard. It cost me millions of dollars, so much time trying to figure out what was the right way to do business, and emotionally feeling like I'm letting myself, my partner, and my family down by not knowing how to run my business properly. But I kept working hard and overcame those challenges and created systems and solutions that minimized those mistakes for myself and my team as we grew. Now, Response Electricians, go and Google it. We've got over 1,700 reviews on Google. We've won awards like Electrician of the Year and Service Business of the Year, both state and nationally. I sat on the National Board of Directors for Master Electricians Australia for 2 years, created a real solid awareness of the industry and the construction industry and the challenges you face. And the business runs autonomously over in Perth while I live my life working on the academy in Byron Bay. And I help people like you create freedom from your business as well. Now, having coached and trained thousands of trade business owners, we've developed the Freedom Fighters program. It's a guided pathway in a hybrid training and coaching system that provides you with the right information and steps to take to create freedom, not in years, but now. You can actually create more freedom from your business sooner than you think. So click the link and have a free strategy session with one of our academy experts to fully understand how you can create more time freedom from your trade business, generating more profit, better culture, and more growth in less time.